Welcome to the segment on farm grant opportunities and proposals. Although this presentation will focus mainly on grant opportunities and proposals, we'll start by highlighting the difference between grants and loans and possible funding sources for both. Grants are frequently asked about, as they provide funds that do not have to be repaid. However, they are few and far between in agriculture. Grants generally require that recipients share lessons learned with other producers through field days, open houses, publications, or presentations at workshops or conferences. Grants generally have a specific focus, for instance, sustainable agriculture or market development. They typically require a detailed project plan so that reviewers will understand not only what will be done, but how it will be accomplished and the likelihood of its success. Although both grants and loans may serve as a potential source of funds, they are very different. Grants do not have to be repaid, while loans do. The terms of the loan, such as interest rate, payback period, and frequency of payments, may be negotiable. Having a financial plan to demonstrate repayment capacity will be very important. When determining whether a grant or loan is more appropriate for your operation, it is important to identify what you would like to do with the funds. Knowing what you want to do will help determine where to look for funding. The federal government, as well as state governments, local organizations, and foundations, sometimes set aside funding to help farmers invest in their business, gain education about a topic, do research, or possibly mentor other producers. Some grant funding sources will provide the full amount needed, while others use a cost-sharing or matching model. It's important to note that grants rarely pay for capital assets such as land, machinery, or buildings. If you're looking to make a capital investment in your farm, a loan is likely the only option. While not necessarily a comprehensive list, here are grant and loan sources of which we are aware. The Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, or ODAFF, has several grants for producers as well as some loans. USDA's Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Program, or SARE for short, also offers grants. We'll talk more about these in slides that follow. Local foundations, farm organizations, or government entities may provide opportunities, so be sure to explore those local possibilities. More entrepreneurs globally are turning to crowdfunding to finance projects, so that may be something you also want to check out. For loans, commercial sources of agricultural credit include banks and farm credit service institutions. USDA's Farm Service Agency serves as a lender of last resort, providing financing for qualified buyers who have been denied credit by commercial entities. Depending on the size of the loan request, private individuals or venture capital groups may also be interested in loaning money for an agricultural operation. Since the 2008 Farm Bill, more resources have been dedicated to small-scale and beginning farms and ranches to leverage their value and impact on the local communities and food systems. Beyond direct capital, USDA has a comprehensive list of resources for new farms that provides information on everything from developing a business plan to seeking funding and program assistance. The Oklahoma Agriculture Enhancement and Diversification Programs, managed by ODAFF, provides funds in the form of grants or 0% interest loans to expand the state's value-added processing sector and encourage farm diversification. Funds, provided on a cost-share basis, must be used for marketing and utilization, cooperative marketing, farm diversification, or basic and applied research. ODAFF programs include the Farm Diversification Grant, Marketing and Utilization Loan, Cooperative Marketing Loan, Basic and Applied Research Loan or Grant, and Agricultural Event Grant. Applicants for these grants must be Oklahoma residents, age 21 or older, and they'll need to provide 15 copies of the proposal, which will be submitted to the advisory board for a review process. Jason Harvey is the contact for specific questions about any of the grant or loan opportunities. As mentioned previously in this presentation, we will focus primarily on grant funding opportunities. More detail about the loan opportunities can be found on the ODAFF website or in our OSU fact sheet, Funding for Small-Scale Farms, Tips for Grant and Loan Proposals. We will provide information on where to find this fact sheet at the conclusion of this presentation. The Farm Diversification Grant funds new and innovative plans for marketing products as well as diversifying a family farm, ranch, or agritourism venue to non-traditional crops or livestock. It also funds development of an agritourism venue promoting access to new markets. Note the emphasis on new. It cannot be an extension or expansion of something you are currently doing or something that is commonly done in the state. Grants are available at 3 levels and most require matching funds with the exception of the awards less than $2,500. Other requirements are that you have to have a letter of support from a professional for the project to show that you've done your homework in preparing your plan and consulted with knowledgeable people. The Agricultural Event Grant provides funds to an individual looking to create or expand an event that benefits and furthers the public interest in agriculture. Preference is given to proposed events that would impact the entire state or a large geographical area and show enhanced economic impact, increased participation, and attendance. The program must include an educational component. To be considered for this award, the applicant must provide a letter endorsing the event from a city or county government official or the local chamber of commerce and give a 30-minute presentation to the board. The basic and applied research funding is available to individuals or entities to conduct research for the purpose of business creation or expansion. It focuses on agricultural products and byproducts. The project should develop the expanded use of technology. An application should exhibit thoughtful planning, expansion of jobs in rural areas, and reasonable opportunities for commercialization. A royalty sharing agreement may be required, and applicants will be required to make a presentation to the board. Now we're going to shift from ODAFF to SARE. The Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Program was started in 1988 to advance agricultural innovation and promote profitability, stewardship, and quality of life for farmers, ranchers, and their communities. SARE grant programs are run by 4 regional offices that make grants nationwide. Oklahoma is in the southern region. Since 1988, SARE has funded more than 5,000 projects. Calls for proposals are typically announced in September, due in November, and awarded in late winter or early spring. SARE offers several different grants. For producers, the relevant ones are the Producer Grant Program and the On-Farm Research Grant. The producer grants take advantage of producers' on-farm experience and knowledge and combine them with research and education efforts to promote sustainable agriculture practices on the farm and in the local communities. The goal of the Producer Grant Program is for farmers and ranchers to conduct projects to solve challenges and problems they face while developing information on what works and what doesn't so that other farmers and ranchers can benefit from the results of the funded project. Awards for the producer grants are capped at $10,000 for individuals and $15,000 for organizations. Funding is available for up to 2 years. Some examples of funded grants are listed here, such as season extension through hoop houses and trap crops for pecans, with more examples on the Southern SARE website. On-farm research grants are for agricultural professionals who currently and regularly work with farmers and ranchers. These can be extension specialists, university researchers, USDA's Natural Resource Conservation Service, non-governmental organizations, otherwise known as NGOs, or other organizations. It's important to note that while a farmer or rancher will be involved in an on-farm research grant, these grants are not open directly to farmers. If you are a farmer or rancher, you should apply under the Producer Grant Program. However, you may also want to contact an extension educator, researcher, NRCS employee, or other ag specialist to let them know of your interest, as they may be looking for a cooperator or interested enough in your idea to pursue a grant with you. Now, SARE does have restrictions as to what they fund and don't fund for sustainable ag projects. The producer grants are research grants and will fund things directly related to your research project, such as the cost of research analysis. It can also include items such as sampling, any materials or supplies needed for the project, outreach expenses to support things such as field days or workshops, any travel expenses, and labor required for the duration of your project. It is important to note that SARE cannot fund projects or items that pay for a farmer to farm. This includes the purchasing of equipment, land, or animals, installation of permanent on-farm structures, or starting a farming operation. SARE does offer more than just grants for those interested in learning more about sustainable agriculture in their region. The organization offers a wide range of educational resources, including books, fact sheets, bulletins, regional newsletters, program materials, videos, projects, and web-based resources known as topic rooms. You can also join the SARE listserv to engage in sustainable ag discussions. All right, now that we've outlined various funding opportunities, let's get down to the business of writing your proposal. Grant writing can be a daunting task. Read the request for proposals carefully. Make sure your goals align with the funder's mission. If what you want to achieve doesn't match well with the agency or organization's call for proposals, be sure to look elsewhere. If you're unsure, ask. Most calls for proposals include contact information. Save yourself time and energy and frustration by avoiding a mismatch early on. Some calls for proposals will note the weights given to different components of the proposal. While no segment should ever be skipped, do pay special attention to the segments given larger weights. Start early. Many grants require letters of recommendation or a professional endorsement for your proposed project. If you want to receive a good letter, the writer will need to understand the proposal. Provide them with an abstract, outline, or even better, the full proposal. Be sure to allow them plenty of time for their review and to compose a letter. Once goals and priorities are set, construct an outline of what you plan to submit. This will likely include a narrative, timeline, and budget submission. Calls for proposals often specifically outline the required information. Read through the instructions step by step and form the proposal accordingly. Not only will this help create a logical thought flow, it will ensure that the points required by the funder are addressed. And while this seems easy enough, it's important to remember that grant applications are often not considered due to the applicant's failure to read and follow the instructions. Government agencies strictly follow announced rules. Failure to comply with the requirements can lead to quick disqualification. An incomplete application or one in which not all the directions were followed may be dismissed despite how well written or innovative the proposed project might be. Provide documentation through the narrative and budget that shows you have truly calculated the cost and time needed to fulfill the grant requirements plus the impact of the project. Be sure to provide references if appropriate. While some costs may be precise, you will likely need to develop a budget estimates based on research, data collected, and past experience. Be sure to be reasonable with your request. It's important to be transparent and provide rationale for each budget item. Secondly, check the math. If you submit a spreadsheet along with a narrative, make sure the sum of funds requested matches not only within each section, but as a whole. If the grant guidelines allow, consider partnering with another individual, organization, or entity. Involving more people and entities can create a stronger proposal by generating more ideas and creating accountability. Often, proposals require partnering to further reach and ensure a broader impact. And keep in mind, while you may be immersed in your idea or operation, the person reading the application does not know anything about it. Presenting an organized proposal with a logical train of thought and concise explanation of the intended use of the funds will go a long way to ensure success. The person reading the proposal should not have to work hard to put the pieces of the puzzle together or understand the request for funding. So be clear and specific. If possible, avoid the use of jargon or acronyms unless absolutely necessary. If you do need to use them, be sure to spell them out or define them. Consider having someone who is not familiar with your project read through the draft and flag any unclear segments. Then revise as needed. And last but not least, remember that professionalism matters. Aesthetics of the proposal can be just as important as the content. So whether you're submitting a hard copy or a digital version, check to make sure that the formatting, font, and use of headings is consistent throughout the proposal. If you do print it, ensure that the paper is neat and tidy with no marks, stains, or wrinkles. Obtaining funding for an agricultural enterprise or activity requires planning and preparation. The tips provided in this presentation are designed to enhance the likelihood of success in getting funding. Remember that funding for capital purchases may be limited to loans. Preparing a grant or loan application does take time, so allow plenty of time for the preparation of your proposal and submit it early if possible to avoid issues that may arise by submitting it at the very last minute. And don't be discouraged if you do not receive funding on your first submission. It would be extremely rare for someone to receive every grant they ever applied for. It's important to remember that the process of applying for a grant can be a valuable learning experience in and of itself. If you are looking for additional information on preparing a grant or loan proposal, download or view our fact sheet at the link above, or Google Funding for Small-Scale Farms, Tips for Grant and Loan Proposals. Southern SARE also has some resources on their grant applications, which can be found on their website. Detail on ODAFF grants and loans can be found on their website as well. Our contact information is listed, so please don't hesitate to call or email us should you have any questions about this presentation or its content. And lastly, look for related information on financing a farm or ranch operation on our eFarm management website. We do thank you for joining us, and best of luck with your funding proposals.